Hello everybody, Sam here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to talk about ARK Invest, discussing about the state of CRISPR, specifically companies like CRISPR Therapeutics and Telia. And basically, there was a video here on their November fund market update, and they sort of go over a bunch of topics. They go over technologies from AI, healthcare, genomics, EVs, all that good stuff that ARK Invests are involved with, right? And basically, that question comes up, and it's the following: given CRISPR Therapeutics and Antilia have approved in late stage therapies, why do you think these are so undervalued and misunderstood by the market? And this is answered by Brett, who's very well known in the ARK Invest community. Let's go ahead, play this clip, and see what we can find from there.
Given CRISPR and Intellia have approved and late-stage therapies, why do you think these are so undervalued and misunderstood by the market right now?
CRISPR Therapeutics in particular has a drug that was mentioned earlier, Casgevy, which is an effective cure on a one-time administration for sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia. As it turns out, many Wall Street analysts don't like cures. They think that it's bad for business to cure disease because you no longer get to sell those patients drugs over and over and over again. They prefer an annuity business model where you're selling, prescriptions, and those prescriptions continue to generate revenue monthly. We think that's actually a tremendous misunderstanding of the value of a cure, not just to humanity, but as a business proposition. What happens with a cure as it enters the marketplace, it pulls forward the revenue graph because by curing the disease, you avoid a lifetime's worth of not just medicine costs, but hospitalization and other health services costs, and you get the value of that in the pricing of the cure. So Casgevy is priced at $2.2 million, and payers are happy to pay because they save money over time. And you avoid all of the competitive dynamics that otherwise occur as the patent expires, as new candidate treatments enter the marketplace. And so you only get to generate revenue one time, but it's a very high amount of revenue, and you don't have to then defend that revenue against competitive pressures that happens over time. So we think that, frankly, Wall Street doesn't understand the value because we haven't really seen it happen before. These are the first approved and commercialized gene editing treatments, and just generating their first revenue this quarter. Ultimately, we think that the cash flow will tell, and people will have to change the way in which they model and understand these businesses as they begin to generate cash flow, and they realize kind of how much revenue gets pulled forward and how transformative these could be, not just to the people who are having their diseases cured, but to the businesses that are delivering these products into the market.
This is such a great segment. I actually don't think I've ever spoken about that. This is like kind of one of those videos you watch and kind of unlocks a whole different idea that you kind of never thought about, or personally, I've never seen it on YouTube, on X, or even on Reddit. The idea that CRISPR companies do not have to defend their revenue long term. That is such a interesting idea. I mean, think about it, right? A one-time treatment. I mean, like CRISPR Therapeutics, Casgevy, they're calling it Jevi, I'm calling it Jevi. Who cares? Casgevy, 2.2 million. You pay now, you get the person cured, you move on to the next patient. You do it, you move on to the next patient. The problem with this continuous drug deployment in medicine is the cost of maintaining that, hospitalization, the staff required to conduct these processes. It's not a cure, right? It's not a one-time cure. It's not a two-time cure. This is something you're on sort of for your lifetime. And then you kind of have to defend that. That's such a great topic. Think about it. All these companies, these big pharma companies with, take a particular disease, take those statins and all the heart diseases that, the alternatives medicines that are out there, the people have to take for the rest of their life. They have to go to a doctor, prescribe it, take those pills, medicine, go maybe to the hospital, do a regular checkup, and then go back to the doctor to get the next prescription to make sure everything's good. Oh, you need a higher dosage this time, maybe you need a lower dosage. Oh, things are not going well, maybe you need another type of medicine to kind of supplement what you've taken, because those supplements that you originally started taking, those medicines you originally started taking, kind of are introducing something else in your body. Now you have to take this other medicine. Again, this is kind of a compounding effect. And then on top of that, you have to protect that revenue. You have to defend that revenue. Brett talks about patents. Look, I'm not an expert in that field, but it kind of makes sense, right? You have this medicine, you have a patent on it, you have, the FDA approved it under certain circumstances. Technology evolves, companies grow, knowledge on diseases grows as well, right? What we know 10 years ago is completely different than what we know today in certain fields of genomics / biotech / human body, right? There's even some fields that we don't even know at all, right? Ask someone what causes Alzheimer's. Nobody really knows, right? Ask someone what causes dementia. I mean, there are some causes that may lead you to believe that it causes, but it's not a causation. You can't make that correlation, right? So these things, there are so many unknowns in the field, and then you have these drugs that these companies are kind of selling to their investors. The idea of drugs, continuous revenue drugs, but that's kind of like misleading, because again, there are costs involved in that, ongoing costs, maintenance, the idea of defending that revenue long term. That's never discussed by these companies or investors. And then on top of that, for one-time treatment, you get this big revenue, big jump right up front. You get it done, you get the patient cured, you move on, right? You replicate that, you move on. And let's not pretend like these companies can do, CRISPR companies, for example, like Casgevy, they cannot treat 20,000 patients right now in this year alone. They can't do that. Maybe in 10, 15 years, it's not going to happen anytime soon. And there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of folks around the world with sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, all ranging from different level of severity, right? So to say that, these companies are going to run out of revenue just on a particular program is kind of misleading. It's not understanding the full picture and understanding the scale of this program alone. For example, Casgevy or NTLA, what they're working on, NTLA 2001 or even NTLA 2002. So what I'm trying to kind of tell the folks here in this video here on this gloomy Saturday is the following. Don't be sold on this idea. And I've been seeing that a lot on X.com. Do not be sold on this idea that just because these CRISPR companies are not selling a continuous drug where they can make revenue every month, every 6 months, every year from a particular patient is superior than a one-time treatment. That is misleading. That is kind of not looking at all these factors we just talked about. Brett lays it out really well in this video, and I think that kind of gives us a better understanding of what the potential is for these CRISPR companies, specific programs. But again, CRISPR Therapeutics, for example, they're not betting all their eggs on this program. They may have done it 6-7 years ago when that was the only thing that they were working on heavily, but now they have other programs they're working on, or the technologies they're working on. Same thing for NTLA. I mean, NTLA 2001, NTLA 2002. These are two separate programs with two separate diseases, with two separate populations to treat. And I mean, these are things you have to ask yourself, have I done the research? Do I understand the business model of these companies? Yes, it's expensive, 2.2 million. But do I understand that the alternative long-term, it costs more and it just doesn't make sense for patients or for government regimes, right? I mean, these are things you have to ask yourself, because that's how you kind of build your conviction. And that's how you kind of, stick it out for the long term. Because like I say many times in this channel, we believe in the long term, right? This is not a day-to-day, week-by-week, month-by-one type of channel, right? I talk about 3, 7, 8, 9 years long term, right? So I advise folks watching our channel to kind of adopt something similar if, of course, that interests you. Because, of course, the CRISPR landscape tests you, and it tests you really well when it comes to having diamond hands. So as always, guys, subscribe if you haven't, like this video, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. I will be visiting the next few days, going to Banff in Canada. Got an event here for work. I'm gonna be all over there. I'm going to Montreal right after that. So I'm gonna be traveling next few weeks, but I will try to make a video here and there as I best can. So as always, guys, subscribe. Like I said, do subscribe, guys. It really does help the channel, and like it. It puts videos on people's homepage. Believe me, it works. It definitely works. I've seen it play out. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a beautiful Saturday. Thank you, guys.